Okay, you guys, we have a real treat for you here today on Higher Learning. We have a real trailblazer. A trailblazer, a hellraiser. You might have seen the story of the Rhode Island senator who made waves. Made waves when her having a fun time on her vacation, shaking a little something, gripped the internet and had everybody with an opinion. We wanted to talk about it, but we didn't just want to give our opinions. We want to talk directly to the young lady in question. So we have her on Higher Learning. Tiara Mack, Rhode Island State Senator, is joining us on Higher Learning today. How are you?
I am doing well. It's been a wild couple of days, but whiteness is a hell of a drug. So it's been a trip.
Now, you know what's crazy is you say that whiteness is a hell of a drug, but I've seen a significant amount of criticism about this from the community, as in Black people.
Oh, Black people can have white supremacy embedded in their psyche. They can have white supremacy as the only framework in which they know how to think, act, and believe. And yes, I've seen it all.
So the question is, you say whiteness is a hell of a drug. You say white supremacy is kind of the culprit here. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel people's reaction to you twerking? We should say you were twerking on a handstand on your vacation. The cheeks was out. All right. As they are in the bikini. Why do you feel like the reaction to that is white supremacy?
Yeah, my body has never been able to be controlled by my opposition. As a seated state senator, the youngest queer Black senator that was elected in Rhode Island's General Assembly in 2020, my existence has always been a source of conversation. And it's never been about me as a person. It has always been about, you must conform. You must fit into this box. You must be quiet. You must not say the things on your mind. When I was elected, I was saying shit like fuck ICE. And that was that's who my constituency voted in. I never wanted to be a politician who, once I got up there, I dressed in boring Black and brown clothing. I didn't speak my opinion and I didn't uplift my community. And so when I continue to live my joyful, free Black self, and folks don't know how to deal with that, and folks don't know how that joy, in the light of all of the oppression that we are experiencing, in light of all of the oppression that they have given me, in light of all the ways that they've tried to silence me, the fact that I can still show up for my community with joy, with love, compassion, and silliness, that is everything that they hate. I should be ashamed of my body. I was called fat. I was called classless. I was called shameful. All of these things simply for having a body on a beach, wearing what every single other person wears to the beach. But because I am Black in doing it, and because I'm empowered in doing it, that is what upset people, because I shouldn't quote unquote look like that and be acting like that. I shouldn't be a state senator with an Ivy League degree and be able to turn up with my friends on a weekend. They wanted me silent, and I didn't allow that. And because I didn't allow that, I didn't allow their narrative, and I didn't allow their boxes, they lost their shit.
Do you think that if a white woman was twerking on a handstand, that it would have had a similar reaction?
Absolutely not. Because in Rhode Island, I have on my TikTok about this, Rhode Island is literally wild. Double standard that I am held to is literally what I'm twerking about. The double standard of, I went against a 30-year incumbent who was anti-LGBTQ and was anti-abortion, had 21 DUIs. My current opponent was arrested for embezzling $6,000 in campaign funds. The Senate president in Rhode Island was arrested in 1990 for stealing condoms, and he's still in office today. I was flipped upside down in a headstand, twerking, and yet my body should be shameful. My behavior was uncouth, disgusting, etc. But I have men who are in the same position, be they white, be they black, who are free from criticism. We had a mayor in Rhode Island, Buddy Cianci, who was arrested for mob activity. And when he left jail, he ran for re-election. And so this is the environment that I'm in, where it's not about the policies, it's not about the issues, it's about we want people in power who will uphold the status quo. And because I came into Rhode Island politics an outsider, not willing to conform, not willing to lend my platform to being quiet and acquiescing to the powers that be, that upsets them, and that disrupts white supremacy. It disrupts everything that they've been told I should be doing. I shouldn't be liberated. I shouldn't be free. I should be following in the footsteps of other people. But because I don't behave the way they want me to, I am disgusting. I am, etc. Meanwhile, they are doing 10 times worse things, and they're not showing up for their communities. They're not talking about the policies, and they're not lending their platforms to uplifting people in a way that is loving and full of empathy and joy. And so to them, I say, like, I'll twerk on your double standard. I will literally twerk on your double standard, because no matter what I do, they would criticize me regardless. No matter how I show up, no matter what I do, they would criticize me regardless. I had to turn off all my comments. I had to mail sent to my home really for advocating for a queer, inclusive, age appropriate, comprehensive, pleasure-based sexual health education bill. People calling me a groomer and a pedophile. Mail sent to my home, and no one protected me. No one in Rhode Island, no one in the media said we should protect this Black woman. My body was never mine. No one cared. No one cared about my body and my safety until it was twerking upside down. And even then, they don't care about my safety. They care about what my body is doing. So to them, I say, I'll twerk on your double standard all day, because y'all don't care about me. And it was never about me. And it was never about me as a person. It was never about me representing people. It was about, this is a body that we can't control. And so again, I twerk on that double standard.
So what I saw, because I like to watch the discourse in the comments. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm here for, Tiara. I'm here for the comment section. I know what I feel like. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows how I feel. Be free, be you, be expressive. I am against the prudish nature of society. We know this, okay? But in the comment section, there are a lot of people that are saying, hey, if you are an elected official, this is the way you should conduct yourself. There were people that were saying classless, like you said. There were people that were saying, hey, you're embarrassing Black people. You're embarrassing Black women. You know, that there should be a decorum, a way that you act if you're an elected official. And a lot of those people, like I said, were Black. Mm-hmm. So forget about the other white people, because we talked about the framework of white supremacy that you said. What do you say to the Black people that criticize you for twerking?
Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her bed and they killed her anyway. Philando Castile told them that he had a registered gun in his car and they shot him anyway. Eric Gardner told them he could not breathe and they killed him anyway. Like Trayvon Martin had Skittles in his hands and they killed him anyway. No matter how I behave, no matter how respectable I am, no matter the Ivy League degree, I am still a Black body worthy of the violence that America can give me. And if we in our community think that that is the same, if we think that about ourselves, of course people are going to say you should act classy. What does an elected official look like and act like? Because all I see performed in the state house that I'm in and at the White House on the national level and the federal level is white people who are not connected to the issues. I see white people and I see old people who don't know how to connect to their constituents, who are not talking about how $15 is not a living wage. That's $32,500 a year before taxes. I'm talking about a $25 living wage for everybody, which is $55,000 a year. I'm talking about housing for all, authentic pathways for Black homeownership to decrease the wealth gap. Yet, folks want to say that I'm not behaving in the way that an elected official should behave. What are they supposed to be doing? And obviously that status quo has not worked. Their rules have never worked for me, because I was supposed to get into that room and I was supposed to be quiet. I was supposed to wear the correct clothes. I was supposed to perform the ways that they wanted me to perform. And because I didn't, and because I couldn't, that is seen as deviant to the nature, but to the nature of what it means to be an elected official. But I think we need more elected officials who are real people, because it is a part-time position. A lot of folks don't even know how state legislatures work. I had people like, you're a disgrace to the US. I can't believe you represent the United States. I'm like, honey, I am a Rhode Island state senator. They pay me $16,000 before taxes to represent their state for 6 months out of the year after my full-time job. I got people calling me all kinds of names sideways, staying in the building sometimes until midnight. I am a part-time state senator. I'm allowed to still have joy. I'm allowed to be a real person. I'm allowed to show up for my community in ways that are authentic to me. And the fact that people think they own me, the fact that they think that I have to behave in a way that is not authentic to me in order to lead, that is not how we show up for community. And so if we have only seen leaders who lead in ways that are performance, we've never had actual leaders. And that's why we're not used to leaders who are leading an unapologetic, Black, queer, and joyful life out in the open, because we need more real, authentic people showing our younger generation that you can be a queer, Black, twerking person and still show up for your community every day. You can be a queer, Black, twerking person and show up every single day for the people and the causes that it matters. And you don't have to be the next AOC. You don't have to be the next Kamala Harris. You can be you in your community, still showing up for change.
Let me ask you this. I'm a devil's advocate question. Now, I'm known to be the prudish one on the podcast, but however, I have to say, I find this story quite captivating. I love this.
Devil's advocate.
I really do. Is it fair to say that people, because everything you're saying, and what you stand for is wonderful, but is it fair to say that the message could be lost in the twerk? People can't hear what you have to say because they're so focused on what it is that you're doing. Is that fair? Is it fair to say that?
No, it's not, because listening to me before, it wasn't my body, it was the conversation that now I have the platform to talk about abortion, to talk about living wage, to talk about our criminal justice system, to talk about police accountability. Because I've been talking that shit. I've been talking about it. I have the policy background, I have the papers, and yet that never got coverage in my local media and the national media. So no, they've already told me that sex sells. And so when I use that message that I received growing up as a Black woman, with my body always being objectified, when I take their tools and use it against them, they're like, oh, wait, no, you're not supposed to use our weapons against us. But honey, baby, you taught me that my body was a tool. And so I used it. And when I didn't use it in the ways that you could shame me and you could belittle me and put me down, that is the danger. And that is the power of Blackness, of joy, of liberation. We can take their tools and literally flip it on top of their heads and twerk on it.
What has been to you the most shocking response? Has it been the way that people have called you out of your name? Has it been intra-community criticism? Has it been people? Were you surprised at any of the response you got to the video?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I am. I mean, I have heard it all. Like I said before, I went viral for twerking upside down. I went viral because the alt-right took a bill that I supported, literally, again, harassed daily, receiving threatening messages, being called the N-word, disgusting, hundreds of thousands of messages calling me a pedophile and a groomer. I have literally heard every single thing that these people can throw at me before this happened. And so now that there's a platform and now that there are more eyes on it, I'm just hearing it even more. And it's coming from the community. It's coming from people who don't understand. And I'm a former educator. I know that as a state senator, and as an educator, as a free and liberated Black woman who's leading in new and different ways. And it's not for everybody. Everything that I do is not for everybody. But because I show up in these ways, I think it's important that, and I lost my train of thought, but I think it's important that I continue to show up in ways that are challenging people's perception of what leadership looks like. Because again, the status quo never worked for us. We're literally in the middle of a global pandemic, another recession. We have thing after thing after thing. We have mass Black death on the media, and yet people are focusing on my body. That is the most pressing thing in the United States right now. And so again, to lend that platform, they already told me the only way that I will be on the news is if I am shot by the police and my video goes viral, or if I'm working upside down. That is the message that the United States gave me and that I've lived with my entire life. And so when I take that message and use it to my own advantage, y'all are upset. But we've all been told the only way that you will get your name in the news is either when you die or you do something on World Star. And so,
just to piggyback on what Van was saying, have you been surprised at maybe someone with like a political office or some type of platform has reached out to you in support for the video or to like comment? Has that shocked you, or have you been surprised by someone doing that?
Yeah, I think I've been surprised by some of the supporters. Like I was out knocking doors today because I'm in the middle of my re-election, and I had constituents like, "Weren't you working on the news?" And they're like, "Girl, like I'm not concerned about that." So I think it's been really nice to have my community. I have a sign right outside my door, and there was a group of people who were outside twerking in front of it, and so it's been nice to see the support from the actual 20,000 people who live in my community who now know their state senator, know that there's an election coming up, and know that their representation in the state, who spends millions of dollars in their communities and makes decisions that will impact them for the next like 10, 20, 30 years, is someone that they can approach, is someone who has a real life and who knows the struggles of being low income, who knows what it's like to speak for the marginalized communities. And so I've been overwhelmed to see the joy and the response of liberation, and the folks who are like, "Girl, we get it." And again, message is not for everybody. It doesn't have to be. Never going to please everyone. And so the people who felt affirmed by that message, the people who felt seen, and the people who felt, now I can engage in politics because I know that it's not hopeless. There are people like you who are real, who are grounded, who look like me. That's the overwhelming sense of like joy and excitement that I get, because there are people who finally see themselves in politics. You don't have to be buttoned up. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be whole. You don't have to be complete in order to be a leader. You don't have to be whole. You don't have to be complete in order to make a change in your community. And that is what has made me feel so affirmed and loved by this community of twerkers out there who are doing what they want in their free time, but also impacting their community.
Could you see yourself, last question for me, could you see yourself twerking all the way to the Senate, twerking all the way to the White House, twerking all the way to, I don't know, the cabinet? Like, where do you see your political career
So
going?
I don't see myself as a career politician, at least yet. I stumbled into politics. Like,
it's disappointing, Tiara.
That is another thing.
I'll just be honest with you. You feel very sincere. You feel absolutely deadly accurate and focused. It's disappointing.
Yeah, well, things can change, but right now I'm 28 years old and these people are already wearing me out. But I think a lot of folks also fail to realize that there is so much power at the grassroots and local level. Many of the decisions that are being made happen at the state level, and they happen at the city level. With the overturning of Roe v. Wade at the federal level, it is up to states to decide if someone will have access to abortion. There are already states that have said, no, you will not have that right to your body. There are states that are going to have to decide if they become sanctuary cities for our immigrant population and for undocumented folks. It's going to be up to the states to decide. So there is so much more power at the grassroots level, at the state level. Everyone wants to be the big star. I don't want to be the big star. I want to create so many little stars that we light up all across the nation, because all of our communities are cared for and affirmed by people who care about the niche intricacies of those communities. It's not about being a larger than life figure, which is what I think some of those bigger positions can be for. But there's so much impact at the grassroots level that people fail to realize. So when someone's like, "You're just a state senator, what are you doing?" It's like, but there's real tangible impact for the 1.1 million people who live in my state by showing up every day as myself.
My last question. Will there be another twerk video? Will we get a response twerk video, a round two? And then I'm also just curious if you've either laughed at or seen some of the memes that are on social with the still shot of you, like in the White House or the Washington Monument, like different things like that. I'm just wondering if you've seen all that.
Yes. So will I be twerking again? Well, now I'm trying to get twerk for trending on TikTok, on Twitter. Like, what are you twerking for? We're going to lean into it. We've got a whole generation of new voters who are who can be engaged and know about their upcoming election, know about their local elected officials, and know about how to get engaged in some of the issues. So #twerk4. So I'll probably still be twerking. I twerk in my free time. I go out to the clubs. And yes, I've been impressed with the memes. My favorite was the one that 50 Cent reposted with like me in front of Joe Biden. I really appreciated the reflection in the memorial. You got the reflection. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people were saying, what would Dr. King think about the twerking? And I was thinking, if you know anything about Dr. King, you know he'd enjoy it a lot. So, Tiara, thank you so much for joining us on Higher Learning.
Yes.
Number one, I think it's important to sort of challenge some of these long-held societal norms, but also I don't think that people understood the depth of you as a politician. How could they have? They didn't know you and everything that you stand for. And I'm glad that you've been given a platform and given the ability to kind of to put your message out there to everyone. And we appreciate you joining us today on Higher Learning. And
yes.
This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning of your movement. So whatever you want to do, we're right here to support you. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. Bye-bye, Tiara.
Bye. Take care.